Welcome to Podcasting for Financial Professionals. I'm Virginia Elder, your host. This is the podcast where you get weekly cliff notes on developing mental fortitude and podcast marketing strategies from other financial service providers on the same path. Ready to level up your show? Start by booking a call with me using the link in the episode description. Let's get into the episode. Welcome to the rebranding episode. Notice anything different? What was Reaching Abundance is now podcasting for financial professionals. This change isn't just about a new name or fresh cover art. It's about instant clarity. For me, for you, for guests, for anyone discovering this show. Today, I'm pulling back the curtain on the rebranding process, how to do it right, my steps that I'm taking, and why it matters for your business. Here's something I want to make crystal clear. You can rebrand. You can change your name, update your visuals, shift your focus, whatever it takes to realign with your services, ideal clients, or where you are in life. Too many people hesitate to launch a podcast because they're stuck on what things should look like, timing, whether other peripheral items are ready to, have their debut into the world. Take it from me. Back in 2019, I knew I was obsessed with personal finance. So I launched a podcast called Reaching Abundance and did about 30 episodes where I provided personal finance guidance for moms with young children because that was my life stage at that time. Then in 2024, I used the same podcast feed and name, but altered the concept and guesting strategy, producing the show you now know as Reaching Abundance, where I've been helping financial professionals market their business using audio and video podcasts, because that is where my business has been over the past few years. And now in 2025, I'm taking it even further, refining my niche, elevating my searchability, and making it super obvious who I serve and how I do that best. Each version of my podcast, the services I offer, and the evolution of my brand is reflective of my personal growth, life stages that have come and gone, and my maturity into the financial and podcasting space. On the outside, that looks like updates to logos, colors, music, guest strategy, the website, and even marketing elements like social media and newsletters. And that's the point. Your brand should grow with you. Yes, you want to do things well from the start to the best of your ability at that time and let it be a full representation of your vision in that period, but don't get stuck in perfection. You're probably honestly going to need to update something in a year anyway because you will grow. So if there's something you want to do, just go ahead and do it because it will eventually need to be updated, rebranded, reworked, or re-strategized in some way. So let's talk about why you might rebrand. Rebranding isn't just about aesthetics. It's about precision. A refined brand attracts better fit clients, strengthens your authority, and elevates the overall experience people have with your brand. Because any kind of update should be really honing in on your focus, your strategy, your exact ideal client avatar. People that approach that brand should know even more what to expect, how you're going to help them, and the benefits they're going to receive from the help you provide. If your podcast or your website or any piece of your brand no longer reflects your expertise, your services, or your ideal audience correctly, it's time for a strategic update. A successful rebrand should do three things. It should reflect your audience's expectations. It should communicate your authority at a glance, and it should align with your business as it evolves. So today's version of who you serve and how you help them should be a clear reflection. For me, that meant stepping away from a broad concept that I still love, like reaching abundance, into something that instantly tells you who I serve and how I help. If you're a financial professional who values high-end production and results-driven marketing, you know instantly that this podcast is designed for you when you see the name as Podcasting for Financial Professionals. That name is now super clear, and that's what I want for you. So I've got 5 steps to a podcast rebrand for you, just in case this is something that you want to consider. Step 1 is to clarify your focus. Before you start dabbling with colors and concepts and logos and getting a new photo shoot and starting to think about the visuals, you want to define 3 things. Who you serve. This is where you identify, has your audience shifted? Are your listeners still tuning into the full episode? Are there a different niche of people who are being attracted to your brand now? Or are you trying to speak to a different group of people? The second thing is your core message. Does your podcast still represent your business values? Have you changed? And so then maybe you need to adjust things so that it's realigned. The third thing you want to define is what makes your podcast uniquely valuable. So in the intro of your podcast, I would love for you to be able to say, this is the only show that blank, 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 blank. So truthfully being able to state that you are the host of the only show that does XYZ in this specific way makes you unique. It will help you stand out and create differentiation among the sea of other people, of course, in your niche, other websites that provide similar services that you do, and your podcast. For me, I knew my expertise isn't just in podcasting. It is premium podcast production for financial professionals. And I want my podcast name and branding to instantly communicate that. Step 2 to rebranding your podcast is, now that you have clarified your focus, to update your podcast name and cover art. These are kind of like the low-hanging, like most obvious pieces that you would adjust in the podcast rebrand process. So your podcast name should be absolutely clear, SEO friendly, and self-explanatory. Things that I did not have when my show was called Reaching Abundance. You want to create this SEO friendly, self-explanatory name in just 3 to 4 words. Avoid being clever or vague or cheeky. If your ideal listener has to think about what your show might include or might address, you've already lost them. Next, your cover art should match the feeling and the vibe of your brand. If you're offering premium services, your branding should reflect that level of sophistication. We would be looking for sleek fonts, a refined color palette, and high quality images. If your brand, on the other hand, is quirky and funny, that's where you can get away with more like neon colors, a kind of funky font, and even your imagery can be quirky and funny and wild. So you've got to pick visual elements that go with the overall vibe that you want to represent. Okay, so sidebar real quick here. I haven't had a proper photo shoot done in about 5 years, which is not advisable to most business owners. So, as this rebrand comes to mind and I start diving in and making adjustments, I find out I won't actually be able to get in with the photographer I want for about another 6 weeks. Instead of launching this rebrand as a big, huge ta-da with new pictures and everything all done at once, you're going to see portions of the brand updated as we go because I'm not willing to hold the entire rebrand up just because of a photo shoot or a web page or any other variable. Today, you see the new logo on the cover art next to the same old picture that I've had for several years. I've also purchased new URLs, set up some redirects, and created a brand new podcast page for my site. That's phase one, and that's live today because those are things I can control and that I can push out quickly. I need a little more time to do the rest of the pages on my site and get that brand new photo shoot done. That will be phase two. And I'm also sure that there will be a phase three, but that is a little undefined right now because with each phase, I'm just going to do what I'm capable of within that month or bi-weekly period. And whatever I can't get done fast enough or can't control, like the timing of another service provider, that's just how we're going to roll. And I'm going to push things live as they get done. So take note. Not only should you feel relieved that your branding doesn't have to be perfect the first time because you're probably going to want to change it anyways, but also you can push your revised vision live in phases. It doesn't have to be all at once. This aligns with what I say a lot about podcasting, anyways. There are no rules. We make up rules in our head based on what we see other people do and what we think society expects of us. But really, there are no rules to this. All right, back to the 5 steps of a proper rebrand. Step 3, update episode titles and descriptions. If your branding has shifted, it's highly likely the written content related to your past episodes may not match anymore. So those items need to align with your new vision, mission, vibe, target listener, etc. So you're going to update your podcast's main description, tweak old episode titles for better clarity and SEO, and ensure your audience can easily navigate past content. For example, I archived the old Personal Finance for Moms episodes about a year ago when I first restarted Reaching Abundance. You can still find them, but it's really obvious that they aren't part of this current brand's mission and vision. I've also reviewed and updated all of my follow links, calls to actions, and titles to any episodes published in 2024 and forward to ensure that they are SEO friendly according to my new keywords for this new 2025 version of myself. You'll need to do a similar exercise. And again, it can be done in phases if needed, especially if you're looking back at 50 or more episodes that need to be updated. Step 4 for rebranding is to announce your rebrand to your audience. Your audience might need to know why the change is happening, especially if there are a lot of visual or sound changes. Like if you pick new music and update your cover art and everything, they're going to be confused for a minute and think, wait, did I click on the wrong show? Who is this? What is this? Because when they click play, they are so accustomed to your original sound, music, style, it might throw them for a loop for a moment. Your audience also needs to know what's in it for them, why you're making these adjustments, and how these adjustments benefit them. Take them behind the scenes with you, share the reasoning, and make it exciting for them. This episode is part of that process for me, bringing you into my decision and showing you how it's done and sharing which pieces you get to see today and what you might expect coming up. Step 5 is to update things everywhere. It's a pain, but we've got to do it so that someone's not going back to an old episode, 20 and trying to click a link that doesn't work anymore. So think about website, socials, anywhere your podcast might be listed or linked. A podcast rebrand isn't just about Apple Podcasts or Spotify or even YouTube. Your website, your email signature, your social media bios, all of them need to reflect the new version of your branding and of you as soon as possible. This doesn't mean that on launch day, everything's perfect and updated, but in time, maybe one social description a day could be updated to reflect this new branding. For me, this means my podcast cover art and titles on all of the hosting platforms, my website, my service pages, my email signature, the description in my social media profiles on each platform, the banner image or header image on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, everywhere that has a different image associated with your profile needs to be updated. Captions in any of my scheduled social media posts that haven't gone live yet. And those things very likely speak about reaching abundance, which no longer exists as of today. So I need to look forward at all of those scheduled elements and update them to podcasting for financial professionals. And I'm sure there's still something I've forgotten. So if you're clicking through my social profiles or emails or anything else that you might receive or look at in my brand and you find something that needs to be updated, let me know. That'll be really helpful, actually. My point here for step number 5 is that your brand should be consistent everywhere your audience finds you. Now, let's talk about some lessons. I now personally have 50 plus episodes of my own branded show under my belt and hundreds of episodes of clients under my belt. So let's think about what makes a podcast thrive and what does this have to do with branding? So through the many conversations I've had on this show, certain themes stand out about successful podcasters and business owners. One is that longevity comes from passion. The most successful shows continue past 70 episodes because the host genuinely loves sharing. Yes, ROI matters, and people have different things that they are measuring as an indicator of ROI. It might be speaking opportunities booked. It may be clients. It may be course sales. There are a variety of different metrics you can be measuring as ROI, but the main driver of these people's success that I've seen over and over and over is their passion and their desire to share. Essentially, they podcast because they want to. Item number 2, specificity breeds success. The clarity you have around your audience, your messaging, your branding, as in the way you speak about your brand, the clearer definition you have about what you do and how you help people and how people benefit from hearing you, seeing you, watching you, working with you, the more other business opportunities open up for you. So the more specific you can get, the more opportunities you'll have. Item number 3, actionable content creates impact. When listeners walk away with insights that shift their thinking or give them to-dos that they can execute quickly and feel their progress, they will keep coming back. Item number 4, your podcast name should be obvious. The best names out there, whether we're talking about brand names, podcast names, YouTube channel names, should be so obvious that it doesn't need to be explained. The best brand names do not need an explanation. They tell listeners exactly what they are getting when they click on that thing. And that's what I want you to look at for your brand and your podcast name, because that's the exercise that I've gone through. And now I feel like I'm not the only person with clarity anymore of who I serve and what I do for them. But now it's so clear in the title of the podcast, there should be no confusion whatsoever. So, some final thoughts I want to leave you with here. If you have grown as a professional, your podcast and your brand should reflect that in its visuals, in its messaging. And rebranding isn't just about a new look. It's about ensuring your message aligns with your audience, your business, and your long-term goals. So if you think about it, you very likely, because it's like a very high percentage of the population, creates new goals in January of every year. And I know this is a very important exercise for business owners as well. So if you're creating new goals every single year, after a few years, it's highly likely that your brand and your goals for your business have adjusted. And that's where I want you to look at your own show and think about, is this a current representation of who I am and how I want to be seen in the world? And finally, if this episode resonated with you and you're considering refreshing your podcast, I would love to talk with you about this and guide you through this process. My team specializes in done-for-you production, so you can focus on what you do best, which is leading your business. Thank you for being part of this journey. Podcasting for financial professionals is exactly what it says. And I can't wait to bring you even more insight, strategy, and high-level conversations about podcasting tailored specifically for financial service providers like you. Make sure you've clicked the follow button in your app or the subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube so you never miss an episode. If you need expert podcast management, you know where to find me. See you next time. If you're ready to market your business effectively with a podcast, you're invited to visit podcastingforfinancialprofessionals.com. You can also click the book a call link in the description, and I'll take it from there. Thanks for listening to Podcasting for Financial Professionals. I'm Virginia Elder, and I'll be back next week to help you start or improve your financial podcast. Follow me on Instagram at Podcast Abundance to stay connected. See you next time.